She sat across the cafe table, fidgeting with her napkin. Her hands trembled slightly as she whispered, "No one marries a fat girl, sir. I don't even know why I agreed to this blind date." The man sitting opposite her, calm, confident, and wearing a gentle smile, paused, then said softly, "Then let's prove them all wrong." That was the moment that changed both their lives. It wasn't just a date, it was the beginning of something that would teach everyone watching that no matter how broken or self-doubting it begins. Hey everyone, welcome back to the place where real stories touch the heart and remind us of the power of compassion. If you believe kindness still matters in this world, hit that and leave a comment sharing one kind thing someone has done for you lately. Now, let's get into today's story, a story that starts with insecurity but ends with inspiration. When agreed to a blind date, she wasn't expecting magic, she wasn't even expecting kindness, she expected another awkward dinner filled with polite smiles and silent judgments. Emily was 28, a talented graphic designer, creative and kind, but she had always struggled with her body image. Growing up, she was called names she never deserved. In high school, she heard whispers behind her back, "She's pretty, but if only she lost weight." By the time she reached adulthood, she'd started to believe that her worth was measured in pounds, not in the warmth of her heart or the kindness of her soul. Her friend Megan had set her up on the date, insisting, "He's not like the others, Em. Just go." But Emily wasn't convinced. Still, she found herself sitting at a small corner cafe on a Friday evening, wearing her favorite blue dress, the one she called her confidence armor. That's when walked in Daniel. Was the CEO of a small but growing tech startup. At 34, he had the kind of quiet confidence that came from humility, not arrogance. When he spotted Emily, he smiled, not the kind of smile people fake on dates, but a genuine, warm smile that reached his eyes. "Emily?" he asked. She nodded nervously, and they shook hands before sitting down. The first few minutes were polite, talking about the weather, their favorite coffee orders, and how they both hated small talk but were too polite to admit it. Then, when Daniel complimented her laugh, Emily blurted out words she didn't plan to say. She lowered her eyes and whispered, "You don't have to say nice things, sir. I know I'm not what people expect. No one marries a fat girl, anyway." The cafe went quiet for her, though everyone else carried on with their chatter. She wished she could take the words back, but Daniel didn't look away. He didn't laugh or brush it off. He just looked at her and said something that made her blink in disbelief. "Then," he said, smiling gently, "let's prove them all wrong." Emily froze. He said it like a promise, not to impress her, but to remind her that she was worth believing in. For the first time in a long time, Emily laughed, a real laugh. Daniel joined her, and something shifted. The rest of their date was light, fun, and unexpectedly easy. They talked about everything: music, childhood dreams, their favorite books, even their worst fears. Daniel shared that he used to stutter as a kid and was bullied for it. He knew how it felt to be judged before being understood. When they said goodbye that night, Daniel walked her to her car and said, "I'd really like to see you again, if that's okay." She nodded, smiling shyly. It had been years since anyone had looked at her like that, not with pity, but with respect. Weeks turned into months, their friendship grew into love, not the movie kind filled with fireworks and drama, but the quiet, steady kind that feels like coming home after a long day. Daniel never treated Emily like she needed to be fixed. He encouraged her art, celebrated her success, and never once mentioned her weight. He saw her for who she was, a woman with a heart big enough to light up every room she entered. Still, the world wasn't always kind. One night, at a company gala, Emily overheard two guests whispering behind her, "Is that Daniel's girlfriend? The CEO's? She doesn't look the part." Her heart sank. She excused herself and went outside, tears threatening to spill. She leaned against a pillar, trying to breathe. That's when Daniel found her. He didn't ask what was wrong. He just took her hands in his and said, "You're the most beautiful woman here. Don't let small minds make you question that." She smiled weakly. "People will always talk, Daniel." He nodded. "Then let's give them something good to talk about." 2 years later, Daniel proposed to her in the same cafe where they first met. There was no grand spectacle, just a ring, a cup of her favorite caramel latte, and his quiet, steady voice, "You once told me no one marries a fat girl. I think it's time we prove them wrong." Emily burst into tears and nodded before he could even finish asking. Their wedding wasn't fancy, but it was full of love. Daniel's vows made everyone cry. He said, "Kindness is what brought us here. She taught me that true beauty isn't about how someone looks, it's about how they make you feel." And Emily, in her simple ivory gown, glowing with confidence and joy, finally believed that she was enough, more than enough. After the wedding, Emily started an online community called A Safe Space for people struggling with self-image and confidence. She shared her story, her journey, and her belief that kindness, both to ourselves and to others, can heal wounds that no diet or mirror ever could. Her first post read: "Someone once told me no one marries a fat girl. But someone kind enough to look deeper did, and now I know kindness changes everything." The community grew fast. People from across the country joined, sharing stories of being judged, bullied, or overlooked and finding hope again through compassion and support. Daniel often appeared in her live streams, sitting beside her with his easy smile, adding, "And remember, if you ever doubt yourself, just be kind anyway. Someone's watching, and your kindness might be the thing that saves them." Kindness doesn't always show up in grand gestures. Sometimes it's a soft smile across a cafe table. Sometimes it's listening without judgment. Sometimes it's believing in someone when they've stopped believing in themselves. Emily's story reminds us that we never know what battles someone is fighting quietly inside. The right word, the right gesture, the right moment of compassion, it can change everything. In a world obsessed with appearances, Daniel chose to see a heart, and because of that, a broken heart healed, a new love blossomed, and thousands of strangers were inspired to be kinder to others and to themselves. So the next time you meet someone, remember, your kindness might be the turning point in their story. And if you ever feel like you're not enough, think of Emily. Think of how love and kindness turned her pain into purpose, because at the end of the day, beauty fades, fame fades, even success fades, but kindness echoes forever.